Any child knows that all food comes from the same place. It doesn't come from a field or from a farm or even from the store. Just ask them, they'll tell you. Food comes from the kitchen. Kitchens have actually been around for longer than houses have. In the early days, they were a fire pit and a great big old rock you kept the potatoes under. These days, a kitchen could be anything you can dream up, provided you have the money to pay for it. Kitchens are, well, they're the part of the house that have the best domestic action. They're not just where the breakfast nook is, they're where the chemistry lab is. Where else could you make a 40-pound turkey get so hot it turns dark and drips fat and makes the whole house smell better than a Chanel factory? This show is about the room with the oven in it. So if you can't stand the heat, just open the fridge. It's nice and cool in there.
If the hearth and the fireplace used to be the heart of the house, now I think almost everyone would agree the kitchens are really the heart and soul of the house. I mean, if one thinks of Mom and apple pie, there seems to be a relationship there between the kitchen and what the house even represents.
Well, it's extraordinary how, although you mean to get further from the kitchen when you settle down after a long, hard day, very often you don't. You just do end up there.
I mean, I love sitting there with my friends when they come over and just by the fridge and you can get whatever you want. There's something really comforting about food.
When people come into my home, I think sometimes they think, oh, it's rather bare. There's nothing hanging from the walls. They see pictures of lovely ornaments and things in kitchens. But mine is very much a working kitchen. It isn't a living-in kitchen.
I use my kitchen for living. It's right in the middle of my house. Yeah, and we all live there. And we all just, that's our meeting place. It's right, we have a family room that's adjacent to the kitchen, so it's the meeting room for the family.
When humans built walls for shelter, we also built fireplaces for warmth. Early hearths weren't just space heaters, they were the kitchen stove to boot. They were big enough to get pots in, they had racks for roasting, they even had a built-in safety device wherein, if you didn't turn them off, they'd go out all on their own. One thing they did lack, however, was temperature control.
If you were going to ask what's the oldest appliance in a kitchen, I think I'd have to say the stove. Because, in fact, without the stove, you can't cook. You can't transform foods. Chemically, you can't transform eggs, make cakes, or bread. So really, the oven is by far and away the oldest appliance in a kitchen, whether it's a community bread oven or an oven or a bake oven in your own house.
So to start right at the very beginning, where you'd be using wood, you might have great big logs on a fire, and you would roast food on spits in front of it, and have an elaborate sort of iron machinery to hang pots and cauldrons. And that would require a great big hearth. Now, in a little cottage, that would actually be the room of the house. You might have Granny in a rocking chair just at the edge, keeping snug, and a baby in a cradle. And potentially all quite dangerous, of course. The wood fires were succeeded by coal fire cooking. And obviously, from the point of view of taste, that was much better if you kept the food further away from it. And so you got the development of closed-in ranges, where you'd have closed-in iron cupboards and doors round the main fire. Then you'd have ovens built in at the side. And eventually that became completely closed in. There was in fact a great debate whether meat tasted better roasted outside or roast inside an oven. It mattered to people a great deal. The next stage was to bring on oil, which was discovered in the sort of mid-19th century, particularly in America, and then was brought over with slightly less success here in Britain. But the real breakthrough here was the beginning of gas cooking, and then later electric, which meant that you had much smaller cooking appliances. You could switch them off. You didn't have to have a huge boiling hot kitchen all day. You could actually make everything sort of easier and more economical.
If you don't have water, you don't have a kitchen. The water in a kitchen doesn't have to run freely out of the taps. It doesn't even have to be hot. That's what you got a stove for, but it does have to be there. These days, everyone in the Western world has easy access to water, but in days gone by, it wasn't quite so simple. I guess that's the reason why nobody went to the gym in 1847.
People used to have to go out to a well somewhere in the neighborhood, or in cities they might have to go to a standpipe at the end of the road, bringing that water back in buckets. There might even be just a cistern in the corner of the room. which could be filled with water at quite irregular intervals. And so doing without water, using water almost as preciously as we use electricity now, was all part of the way you had to manage things very carefully. The actual beginning of piped water was really a luxury until the middle of the 19th century, the beginning of the 20th century. Even in London, in 1910 or so, I've seen photographs of people queuing up at standpipes just to take water into their houses.
Today, you can have a kitchen basically anywhere you want. Because so many commuters live in their cars, a lot of companies are now making these little miniature refrigerators that plug right into the cigarette lighter. The car kitchen. I don't know what people used to do to keep beverages and food cold during the commute a couple of hundred years ago. I guess they probably had to put a big block of ice in the passenger seats.
Refrigerators are really relatively latecomers on the scene. Now, there's always been problems about how you preserve food. You might pickle it, you might salt it and hang it up to dry. You might can it. You might have a cellar, a potato cellar, where you can put your roots.
It was countries like America with a very hot summer that actually brought on the use of ice for preserving food at a far greater level. But even in England, we've had ice houses in country houses built from the late 18th century all through the 19th century. They'd be filled up with ice, which would be delivered perhaps by canal or collected on the estates. And then those could stay, if they were well packed, the ice would last for a couple of years. You could bring it into the house, put it in ice boxes. You could have it in heaps and bowls and push your champagne in and that sort of thing.
As we move through the 19th century and into the 20th century, we see the birth of the idea of the refrigerator. And it's a slow step. It starts with cold cabinets in the 1900s, which were wonderful devices built into the wall with a louver at the bottom and a louver at the top. And they would be really like closets, completely built into the wall. So we see both the idea of the cold cabinet and the idea of the icebox. And really both of these fuse in the 1920s with the proliferation of electrical appliances.
In 1938, I went to work for Frigidaire. And of course, you really were fighting a pretty tough battle because the majority of the British felt that with our climates, we didn't need a refrigerator. We had cold enough winters, great big larders or pantries, call them what you will. In summer, it was a bit difficult, but never mind, if the milk went sour, you popped to the dairy and got another pint. Then, of course, gradually, as the war ended, central heating took over, and our homes became an entirely different place. So that's changed people's mind completely. And I think this almost obsession, that probably is the right word, that food must not be wasted, made people think, now, if I had a refrigerator, I could have kept that, it would have been all right. And so the desire for refrigerators grew in the years when there wasn't a hope of having one. Then, when they were available, oh, how people flocked to get them.
So you start to see brand name refrigerators and brand name stoves introduced into the domestic space. We see refrigerators starting to be streamlined. We see toasters that look like they could fly through the air. There's a lot of chrome used in these appliances, and the insides start to be designed to be bright pink or a luscious aqua green or a lemon yellow. These are all ways of getting consumers to really want to buy these appliances.
What could we live without? Probably Daddy's 2-horsepower blender. Yeah. It makes too much noise.
Kitchen people are gadget freaks. We love the electric popcorn maker, which didn't look anything like this when it made its debut in 1907, the electric coffee maker, 1908, and the electric toaster, first available in 1909. Amongst more essential non-electric gadgets are, of course, the spatula, the potato masher, and, my favorite, the egg cuber. Put a hot, hard-boiled egg in there, screw the top down, pop it in the fridge for 10 minutes, and you've got yourself a cubed egg. Make 50 of them, and you've got yourself enough to make an egg loo.
This is a utensil that the Queen would not have used. This was something that one of the lesser cooks in the kitchen would have used. This is called a flesh fork, and it is for reaching down into the pot of boiling water and hooking that big chunk of meat and pulling it out. Because meat was not served cut up. It was taken to the dining room in large pieces on platters, and you had a nobleman for the king or queen cut it there and serve it to them in small pieces. Millet was cooked with this tool. In English, it's called a clasher. This side of it is the back. This is the front. And you can see from the use here that this is where the thumb went. And it was held like this. And as you stirred your mush pot of millet, you pressed the millet against the side of the pot with the back of this thing. That's why it's bowed. And you mashed it up. So you made a puree that way. It takes a lot of time and a strong arm to make this very fine mush.
This gadget, which is an egg timer, not terribly complicated. Lift it up at the top. It rests here. The sand goes through, measures the cooking time accurately. But the nice part about this egg timer is it not only tells you when your egg is done, but it calls you to dinner as well.
My favorite kitchen gadget is my fat-handled peeler because I have a little bit of stiffness in my fingers and I eat a lot of peeled carrots and other vegetables.
A Vitamixer because I can take fresh fruits and vegetables and I just drop in the Vitamixer and it eviscerates them in 3 seconds and I have a great drink.
I like the food processor because then I can put the Vitamixer in there.
Is there anything more aggravating than trying to cook something in a poorly designed kitchen? In 1930, Lillian Galbraith conducted a test to determine the efficiency of the average American kitchen. And she discovered that in order to bake a cake, the average American housewife had to perform over 50 tasks and walk a grand total of 143 feet. When she designed her own streamlined kitchen, she found that she could perform the same task with only half as many operations and traveling only 1/6 the total distance. This wasn't America's first foray into kitchen design, which probably means this wasn't even the best place to start.
Probably the best place to start is with Frederick Winslow Taylor and his idea of scientific management in around the early 1890s. Women actually tried to apply these ideas of scientific management, which were made for the industrial workplace, and brought them into the home. So then we have the birth of some classic inventions like the triangle between the sink, the fridge, and the stove. And you see this on countless draftsmen's plans, even up to the present, where you have a sort of classic movement from the stove to refrigerator to the sink, and saying, well, this way, you know, the wife could be very efficient going from one to the other, kind of very economically. So this really comes directly out of the work of both Frederick Winslow Taylor, and that's called Taylorism, and the ideas of Harriet Beecher Stowe for revaluing women's work in the workplace. So if the Americans were interested in the efficiency of a kitchen, where items of convenience would be located, what the Europeans brought to it was the idea that the whole ensemble could be designed. And so this is really the first place we see attention paid to the design of the cabinets. Cabinets which are so important in present-day kitchens. In fact, people pay the lion's share of their kitchen budget on cabinet design.
The more elaborate kitchens with lots of rooms that were sort of strung around them rose to a sort of high point in the mid-19th century in Britain. I think the sort of, some of the grandest might even have more rooms almost than there were formal rooms in the house. They really could go on for a very long distance. You would have a knife room, a brushes room, all sorts of different little divisions. You'd have a scullery, and it was distinguished by the fact that that's where the water supply was, and this is where vegetables were cleaned and plates were washed up. They had a very strong feeling that you would keep things separate. You wouldn't put dirty things in the cooking kitchen. You might need a cooler kitchen just off the main kitchen, which they often call the pastry, big marble slabs where people could do their preparation of pastry, which obviously goes a bit soft if it's in too warm an atmosphere. Then there'd be a whole string of larders. So you could have a fish larder, a meat larder, You'd have a room where you might salt food down and leave it in store. Then you'd have a dry larder, very well locked up this with valuable things like tea and spices, sugar.
A lot of traditional houses really used to have the kitchen in the basement. And you have a bake oven, and the coal would come in there. You do your cooking in the basement, and then bring the food up into the parlors, or even eat down in the kitchen. Now, that's fine in winter. You're very protected, and you're close to the source of fire. But in summer, it's pretty darn hot. And you maybe wouldn't be running all the house fires either. And what most people did was they set up a kitchen out back.
Things happened in the early 20th century, like the breakfast nook, which took people one step away from the kitchen. And then certainly when dining rooms became popular, not only for the wealthy and upper middle class, but more and more people planned dining room space in their homes.
The kitchen today, you could think about the balance between beauty and function. In terms of beauty, we think of how the appliances look, how the kitchen cabinets look, what materials you use, what the floor is made of, where your skylights are.
The British always, if they can possibly have one, have a window above their sink. And it may be simply the logic that a sink is normally on an outside wall, and why not have a window over it? Obviously, if washing up is a lengthy chore, cleaning the vegetables and all the things people used to have to do at the sink took a very long time, it's nicer to do it with a nice view than not.
It's got to be a real comfortable space, and it's got to work too.
In terms of function, you might think about what do I actually want to use this kitchen for? Do I entertain a lot? Do I have people over? Do I want an efficient workspace where the working is really separate from the entertaining? Is it a kitchen for a family or a kitchen for a single person? All these things make a big difference in terms of thinking about beauty or function. And in a way, I think it's very hard to separate the two.
My kitchen is very much a working kitchen. People wander in it. I don't say thou shalt not enter my kitchen, although when I'm terribly busy testing recipes, watching the clock, noting what happens, I'd rather be left quietly alone. But on the whole, if I'm entertaining friends or family, well, they're very welcome to come. But they're not welcome to sit down because there aren't any seats except one stool in it.
A couple hundred years ago, this was a very important part of your kitchen. Leeks weren't kept in the fridge. They were left in the ground. Back in 1796, the first ever American cookbook had a lot to say about what they called the kitchen garden. You can grow anything and everything in the kitchen garden, except, of course, the kitchen sink, but you can use that for your kitchen sink garden, in which you can grow anything and everything. Good drainage.
I would define a kitchen garden as the outdoor room of my kitchen, first of all. It's where I raise, coddle, if you will, all of the ingredients that I use in cooking. Historically, you would want your kitchen garden placed as close to the house as possible. Within, at least, sight of the kitchen, you should be able to sit in your kitchen and smell the herbs and the plants from your garden. I think that's part of it. I would think that if I'm planning my kitchen, I'm redesigning it, let's say, and I'm planning it around my garden, I'm going to, of course, design into the kitchen places to store seeds, definitely a couple of dry, cool pantries where I can store squash and things over the winter, a little closet for garlics and onions. So there are ways that you can think ahead and make little spaces for yourself in the kitchen.
Okay, here's my dream kitchen. There's about 15 feet of counter space. There's a big walk-in fridge. There's twin sinks, one of those stainless steel dishwashers. There's one of those great big ceiling racks you can hang pots and pans from.